I'm going to talk to you about beer tonight, and I'm Dave Hamme from Lost Worlds Brewing, as he said. We have 3 locations. Our original location is up in Cornelius. That's where we brew all of our beer. We have a secondary location, opened last year at the Metropolitan, just south of Charlotte. And then we have a 3rd location, and last year was a busy year for us. We also opened up in the ballpark in Winston-Salem. So the Winston-Salem Dash, we have a beer garden up there as well. So in the day and age when a lot of breweries are not expanding, we've been a little bit aggressive, and I'm feeling the pinch of that today. Thank you. So, all that said, we were founded in 2020, and what I want to share with you tonight is kind of the story of Lost Worlds Brewing and why I did what I did and kind of the thoughts behind it. It's kind of like pulling up the tent and looking and seeing the innards of Lost Worlds Brewing. So, you brought a brewer on stage. I got to talk to you a little bit about beer. All right, so beer to me is the best drink in the world, and for one reason. If you talk to people, you say, hey, you don't say, let's go have a couple salads. You say, let's have a couple beers, right? And what does that connote? That means you're going to sit down across from someone and have a conversation. Beer is a social lubricant. 5,000 years ago, at least the archaeologists will dispute this, but either in China, Sumeria, or Egypt, they had a beverage very close to what we call beer today. A little bit simpler, 2 ingredients. Generally it was something like a malted barley or emmer, which is wheat, and they put water in it, let it sit outside, and natural yeast fermented it. In terms of what it is today, and several breweries have recreated this, it would have been a lot sweeter of a drink, but still something that you probably might recognize as beer today. So my experience with beer started when I went away to school. I went out to a school in the farmland of Indiana, very cold, and at the time that I went there, it was about 70-80% women. I'm sorry, 70-80% men. I wish it had been the outcome. Not to be the case. But we didn't have anything better to do than to drink beer. So it's kind of a thing when I'm with my Purdue buddies, we invariably are standing in a circle, in the middle of us is a keg or a campfire, but it's just kind of something we naturally do. But beer at that point became what I said to you. It's that ability to talk to people, to have great conversations. And so think of that one. Let's remember that for a moment, because that's the first major influence upon me about what was to change my life, is that. So I became a home brewer, did it for a number of years, and still do it on occasion up to this point, although what I do with home brewing is like the Betty Crocker oven, and then I have guys who use the industrial ovens and really know what they're doing. Our brewers are professionals. I just pretend I am. So I graduated from school and went out into the world, and I'll be honest with you, I am not a good corporate employee. I have this entrepreneurial bent. I have an active mind. I don't like to wait around and wait for things to happen. And so when I got a corporate job, it wasn't for me. I really struggled with that. So I left it, went back to school, got an MBA. And when I came out, I found the greatest corporate job of all. I became a consultant. So you don't really have to own anything when you're a consultant. You just tell people what they need to be doing. And I loved it. For me, if you're results driven and you want to see your ideas put into place, consulting was a fantastic career for me. And the specific part of consulting I really like is what I'll call innovation. So innovation to me, and sometimes I like to define that for people because I am an innovator at heart. Innovation is if you are taking a road trip and you're in a car, you're going from point A to point B. There's 2 elements of innovation. First is strategic. How are you going to go from point A to point B? Where are you going to drive? When are you going to take rest stops? When are you going to refuel? How fast are you going to drive? All those things. Strategy implies to me there's competition. You are racing someone to get there. Strategy has to have competition. The second part of innovation is operational. And that is if you look at your car, what kind of tires do you have? What's your engine doing? Do you take out all the excess stuff? How are you taking that vehicle that's going to take you from A to B? That's the operational side. I absolutely love innovation, and I love working in companies and helping them to understand how to take it to the next level. And in my career, I've worked for roughly 60 companies thereabout, doing that type of thing, helping on the strategic and the operational side all across the country. And back then, there really wasn't a plan for people to do that. So I would talk about an innovation approach and how companies should change and evolve, and they'd give me a blank look. So I invariably put together a PowerPoint presentation and said, you know what, this is what it is. This is what it means to innovate. This is what it means to have an innovation approach. I would hand that to them, and so often they would look back at me and say, where can I learn more about this? And I said, well, I kind of made it, so I don't really have a source for you. So after a number of years of being pushed, I finally wrote a book. And the book is called Customer Focused Process Innovation. Talks about what I just shared with you, that strategic and that operational component of change. It was published by McGraw-Hill in 2014. In 2016, I actually won a Shingo Award for one of the best business books of the year for it. So that then became my calling card. It was my business card. So I go to business all across the country, share my book, give speeches, did a lot of this with a lot less attractive crowds. And it really kind of found that that was my calling. I really enjoyed the work. But then came the challenge. And that challenge is, and this is to me exemplified by a recent study. They recently asked 330 CEOs, what would you rather be? At a company that was going to undertake a revolutionary change that was risky, that might have huge payoffs? Or would you rather be in a company that had a slow downward cycle? 97% of the CEOs answered the same. They all said, I would rather be in a company that had a slow downward cycle. Innovation in corporate America is on life support, if it's not already dead. If you want to find innovation, you have to go to small companies. So, all that said, I know I need to make a change. So, first influence on me was the beer. Second is innovation. The third for me is adventure. And I didn't travel a lot growing up. I really didn't get overseas and get to a foreign country until after I got out of grad school. And then a buddy and I, we decided that we would just get on a plane. We picked a place, we flew to Lima, Peru. And for 2 weeks, we backpacked across Peru. We had no plans. I can't imagine we would do this today, but back then you could do this and get away with it. And so we spent 2 weeks backpacking across Peru, and it was a life changer for me because I had never been immersed in another culture, had to worry about different denominations of food, different sleep, their beds are different, the food is different, the language is different, their societal norms are all different. And it completely changed me. It made me a better consultant because it opens up your mind to the fact that people can do things differently, and that's okay. And sometimes things that you don't think will work will actually work. So, great experience for me. And then I proceeded to make travel a little bit of a hobby. Went all across Europe, all across Asia, Turkey. If you haven't, Turkey, I wish we could all go to Turkey. Turkey is one of the most amazing countries on this globe and is so rarely visited by Americans. But did Southeast Asia. I have a top 10 if you ever want to hear my top 10 travel destinations. But went to Cambodia, Japan, all through Central America and all through South America. And it is a game changer for me. I was fortunate, my son was in elementary school. He came home from school one day and he had this piece of paper and it says, hey Dad, they have archaeology summer camp at school. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to sign up for this. But he proceeded to sign up for it, and I, of course, tailed him to the class and met the gentleman who was conducting the class, an archaeologist, and we became one of my best friends. And he started an organization called American Foreign Academic Research, AFAR for short. What is great about this organization is they take it's the only program I know about this in the world. They take pre-collegiate kids between the ages of 9th and 10th, 12th grade, and they take them and they drop them internationally on an archaeological site for 2 weeks. The kids go in, and the transformation is amazing. These kids have no experience internationally a lot of times, and now you're exposing them to new cultures, new languages, new foods, new sleep patterns, new hygiene standards. Everything's different. So it was funny, we used to laugh because we'd sit down and have a beer, to be perfectly honest with you. And a day or 2 or 3, half the kids would come down crying. They want to go home. Please let me go. My mom will pay for me to go home. Just let me call her. And we'd watch that and just say, you know what, give it a day or 2. Just relax and find yourself. And invariably they'd be on a dig site and they'd find something like a Roman coin or an amphora or something like that, and they changed completely. It went from being, oh, this is terrible, to this is fantastic. And I think just that little change on the site also changed them, and they would look and say, you know what, I didn't want to try it, I kind of like that food, let me try this food now as well. It completely changed them. I think everyone who's in elementary school, middle school, senior high school, whatever, they need to go overseas at some point because it enriches your mind to have the opportunities to see these different exposures. All right. So I've talked about my 3 influences: beer, innovation, and adventure. And as I said, innovation was beginning to stall in corporate America. I needed to do something else. So late 2018, 2019, I sat down at a dining table with a friend of mine, and she should be here tonight at some point, and I said, I can't do this anymore, I gotta find something else to do. And I love beer, I love travel, I love innovation. Why don't I start a craft brewery? So we sat down and looked at what craft breweries were like at that point. And craft beer didn't really take off until around 2010. If you talk about the oldest breweries here in Charlotte, the craft breweries are roughly 15 years old. But at that point, it was build it and they'll come. You know, it was such a novelty that people wanted to get out and they wanted a place to hang out and have that social interaction that beer provides. Breweries were the perfect venue for that. So they weren't good at everything else. I'll be perfectly honest with you, the beer industry has changed. When they started, you almost had to have a welder on staff to be able to create the vessels and brew the beer. You had to have someone who really knew what they were doing, very passionate about it. When we started Lost Worlds, it was a little bit different. You could buy the fermenters, you could buy the brew house, those things you could readily buy. You didn't have to have a welder. So we founded Lost Worlds with 3 key tenets. First is you gotta have great beer. We have arguably the most sophisticated brewing system in North Carolina. We worked with the manufacturer and calibrated so we can control our degrees to 1/50th of a degree when we're doing our stuff. For that, it means our beer is consistent. You have a beer that you buy from us, the Shillelagh this year, it's gonna taste almost exactly the same next year. The process is the same. Our second tenet is we wanted to build a brand. Because you went to a lot of the breweries back then, they'd have a hand-drawn sign on the door and you'd go inside and there was no branding. We wanted to change that. So if you've been to Lost Worlds, you know what I'm talking about. When you walk into our tap room, it's like an explorer's club of yesteryear. When people started traveling around the world, they would collect maps, souvenirs, replicas, real artifacts, whatever. They'd bring them home, put them on the walls, lay them on the tables, and have their friends over to tell the story. We are storytellers. If you go into our tap room, you're gonna see, we call them tap room artifacts on the wall, and we'll have a picture, we'll have a little QR code there to tell you the story. We love telling the story. That's what our brand is about. It's about history, archaeology, travel, adventure. Our tagline is find your adventure. We want to encourage you to come into our tap room and to see something, say, you know what, I wonder where that's from, and then learn about it and study it. If you look at our beer cans, well, this is Zarita, it's our hazy IPA. All of our beers are named after a historical location, person, item, or moment in time. Zarita is a castle about an hour north of Madrid. It was built by the Moors and occupied by the Crusaders. We've been doing archaeological digs there since 2012. And on the back of it, we tell you the story of Zarita. We want to have a little bit of a didactic element to our offerings. Shillelagh, if you guys know what that is, it's kind of the gentleman's weapon in Ireland. That's what our Irish ale is named after as well. Both very tasty, by the way. So, second tenet was having the brand. First tenet was having great beer. Second, have the brand. Our third one is we want to build a community of raving fans. If you're starting a business and you're not thinking about who your customers are and how you're going to engage them to come back time and time again, you need to do that immediately. It's the most critical aspect. So we want people to come in and feel so comfortable in our location because of the way we interact with them and the way we talk with them that we become their third location. After work and after home, we want to be the third place you hang out. And that requires us to, 1, create that atmosphere where everyone feels welcome. 2, host events that people want to come and see again. And 3, bring all their friends with them. So that's key to us, is those 3 tenets. So let's go back. We started in 2020, March of 2020 to be exact. At that point, I had spent, all of our tanks were full. Every dollar that we would have to spend was already built in. Because one of our brand commitments is we did not want to open up and run out of beer. So March of 2020, we get this little edict that comes out that we are shut down. All restaurants, all breweries are shut down. So that night I got the governor's speech and I read through it from top to bottom, looking around saying there's got to be a loophole in here someplace. I found one. If you sell to a grocery chain, you can be considered a supplier or an agricultural company. So I said, I found my hitch. Called up all my buddies in the grocery industry, had two of them, said, we'll buy beer from you if you get it to us. Had a mobile canner on site that Monday, started selling beer that Tuesday. We never shut down for a day as a result of that. Very nimble, not a fun time, but we made it work. So, Lost Roads at that point has begun to take on a life of its own. The only thing we're very deliberate about is we will explore any opportunity. We will look into any partnership, and I'll talk about those in just a moment. But we wanted to deliberately create a culture that our people felt empowered, because for me, I die in corporate America. I mean, it was just a struggle for me. I remember as I left corporate America, my boss pulled me aside and said, Dave, be patient. Just plant seeds and eventually things will happen. He's like, this company's a battleship, it moves slowly. And it took everything in me not to say, battleships are rather obsolete. But I didn't say it. That would have been a very career-limiting move at the time. But we are very deliberate in our culture at Lost Worlds, and how we do that is we've created 5 what we call values that we share with our employees, and I'm not above going into a meeting and saying, hey, write down our 5 values on a piece of paper, because they have to be living. I don't like it when companies have their corporate statements and their values and they never apply them. That's not it. If you're going to have them, live by them, make them real. So our first one is integrity. Want everyone to act and treat each other with respect, and to be honest, treat our location like it was your home. Hopefully better in many instances, but in general. The second one, this one's important. We pay attention to the details. In my consulting career, when I walked around and saw other companies, I would know in the first 2 weeks if they were going to be successful. If they pay attention to the little details, the big things tend to take care of themselves. So if you walk into a Lost Worlds, the floor better be clean. The bathrooms are going to be the cleanest in the industry. All of our tables are going to be wiped down. The chairs are going to be pushed in. The table tents are going to be arranged so. We're going to do that every single time. We want you to feel welcome, and you don't feel welcome when you come in. There's crumbs and dirt and stuff everywhere. Third one, this is a strange one, but in the alcohol industry it makes sense. We play by the rules. The alcohol laws are extremely vague and very, very hard to follow. I have been on the chief attorney up at ABC has me on speed dial because she knows I'm going to try and help her interpret what these things mean. But that's part of it. We try and play by the rules as much as possible. When others skirt the lines, we don't do that. We play by the rules. The fourth one, this is important, we take care of each other. No one is 100% every single day. We recognize that, and we're going to pick up for each other when they're not, and expect them to do the same for us. And then the last one, and this is very important, as you know, is we innovate. We are constantly looking for new things to do and how we want to change the craft beer industry. So let me give you some examples of those, because I think this is where my passion comes into craft brewing. I'm that person in our company. I think everyone needs 2 people, one that's focused on the operations and one that's focused on the strategy. My job is to focus on the strategy 3 to 5 years out. I have a staffing plan for 5 years from now. It has a position that I don't know if it will exist, but the director of AI. I don't know what that's going to mean, but I think it's going to have importance. I want to at least begin to think that way. Putting it down on paper, my mind is already zeroed in on it. So coming out of COVID, people can't go out. We had a lot of artisans like John here that had tremendous talent, and we wanted to give them a break. They had nowhere to sell their things, that the artist community was hurting. So what we proceeded to do is we took our back lot, threw up 50 stalls, and let vendors come in and sell their wares. Our first market, huge success. No one had done something like that before, but now that we had done it, we do it every year. We're going to have between 6 and 8 markets this year, everything from a Christmas market to markets to celebrate. We have a block party, I think, in 2 weeks up there. It's kind of like your block party of old. You bring your own, everyone brings a plate, sits out there. We have kids playing games. It'd be a lot of fun. So we tried to do something like that. There was actually an author around the corner from us. His name happened to be Dave Fleming. You might hear from him tonight. He was putting a book out, and we said, why don't we create a beer? Why don't we celebrate McDeck together? So we created McDeck Honey Ale, and we actually took water from the Freedom Spring, local honey, and put it in the beer. And for his book launch, we partnered with them. And we're going to continue to do that. We're actually launching if I can talk about this right now, we're launching the McDeck Express. This is going to be a bus tour on May 10th. Dave is going to narrate it for you and take you around the city and show you the sites around Mecklenburg that impacted the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. And that is available on lostworldsbeer.com. If you perhaps want to buy tickets right now, feel free to do that. But innovation also is looking at ourselves and stepping back for a moment and seeing who we are. You know, one of the things about beer tap rooms are, we're very busy from like noon on, but from 7 to 12 in the morning, there's nothing there. So just a month ago, we have our grand opening tomorrow, we launched a coffee bar. Great place for people to come, we got the space, why not use the space, we're already paying for it. So we brought an espresso machine, we have a local bakery that we're partnering with, and just an example of a way we can partner and utilize our brewery in a unique way. And then we just announced this on on Saturday. We actually partnered, if you're from creation of the Kane Center of the Arts, we're doing a partnership with them. We're going to do a summer concert series called Lost at the Lake, 4 concerts, and these are named bands. It's like Sister Hazel, Verve Pipe, if you've heard of them. We're going to do that at our facility. So our intent in Lost Worlds is always to push the limit, to try and innovate, to try and do what other people aren't doing. We're not ever going to be copycats. We're always going to pave our own way and find new things to do that are very unique. So, all that said, I really appreciate letting me be here tonight. If you have any questions, I think we'll answer them at the end, I believe. Is that?
You can, yeah, if you're ready.
Well, we can shoot. I'm just going to pop one of these guys.
Yeah.
But thank you for having me. And, you know, to me, beer is a great vehicle for us to become connected. And to this day and age, we're getting so disconnected by technology, everything else. Invite a friend out for a beer. It's a great way to have a conversation, and I'll appreciate it as well.
Questions for Dave?
Sir.
Yes, do you have any non-alcoholic options at your breweries?
So great question, and the answer is we do have non-alcoholic options. You know, I'm not talking about coffee or anything, but we have non-alcoholic beer as well. We don't make that. Making non-alcoholic beer is a slightly different process and requires equipment that we don't have. But the lucky thing is there's a company called Athletic that makes a fantastic non-alcoholic beer, and we stock 5 or 6 of those year round. Absolutely. Sir?
You have a South Park location in the works.
Well, not yet. South Park's there's a lot of good breweries around South Park, so the congestion is there. So the reason why we chose the one at the Metropolitan is I keep hoping that Charlotte will adopt their greenways and love them like other cities do. And if they do, the Sugar Creek Greenway is a great place. And, you know, we opened up, and of course they shut it down immediately where the hospital construction was going on. That just opened up, so we started seeing people coming on Saturdays, because that's what we want to give. We want to give people that way station off Sugar Creek Greenway. You can stop, have a sandwich, have a beer, enjoy yourself, and then get back on. So maybe one day, you never know. So.
Any other questions before we let him go? Yes.
When you serve coffee, that's when, next week?
Our grand opening is actually tomorrow. We've been serving it now for about a month. And very fortunate, you know, a full espresso bar, and hired some baristas who are fantastic. But one of the things I love is we found a local bakery, and she makes all sourdough products. They're out of this world. She makes cookies, scones, bagels, that works for us. So it's become a place where a lot of people are coming in and just enjoying their morning time, and it's a great place to work.
Oh, yes.
So on that note, do you do that at both locations or just up at Cornelius?
Just up at Cornelius right now. There is a water being across the street from our location, and I'm not sure they look too funny upon me making a full coffee.
Okay, I can also give a pitch for the Greenway. I'm telling you, that thing is a fantastic resource in town. I live not far from here, and we ride that thing all the time. And now that section by the hospital is open, we're like giddy.
Thank you. I mean, that's what we need to do.
And now that I know you're on the way,
We'll be there.
I'll have to stop by.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, I think that's something, if you look like the Swamp Rabbit Trail down in Greenville, and that's where everyone goes on the weekends. These are great places for us to get out, and if we don't use them, they won't build more of them. So we need to get out and use these. So.
Do you have a lot of competition on the Greenway?
On the Greenway, no, we don't. We are really the only brewery down that area that's off the Greenway. You know, there's breweries all over South End, Wilson, and that type of stuff, but for Sugar Creek, that's just us. And that's why we chose it. It's that one part of the city where I don't think there's not a lot of breweries. There used to be Devil's Logic. They have since closed their doors, so we're the only one in that area.
You guys do anything like around Oktoberfest?
We did quite a bit around October. So we have decided that we want to own certain dates. And what we found in Charlotte is Old Mech owned Oktoberfest down here. No one owned Oktoberfest anywhere else. So we have an outstanding Oktoberfest. We blend it with the market, so we bring the vendors in. We have what I think is probably the best polka band around, and it is a huge event for us. And we do it, it's so big that we do it twice, and we all dress up, so don't come to Lost Worlds if you're not dressed up, that's part of the rule. And we also do it at our Metropolitan location as well. Absolutely.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoy.